The stars outside the window of Elias Trent's ship were cold and silent. His small freighter, the Wren, drifted through deep space near the edge of Sector Theta 9. This part of the galaxy was quiet. Too quiet. Years ago, it had been a war, zone between humans and the Zarnathi, a mysterious alien race with glowing green skin and strange technology. Now it was just empty space with leftover wreckage and ghost signals. Elias sat in the cockpit, feet up on the console, chewing on a protein bar. He was on his way back from a supply drop, tired but relaxed. The autopilot hummed softly. Nothing ever happened out here anymore. Then a beep broke the silence. Elias frowned and sat up. A faint signal blinked on the screen. It was weak and pulsing, irregularly, a distress beacon, not human. The frequency didn't match any Earth code. He tapped the console. Computer, scan source. The voice of the ship's computer answered, smooth and calm. Unidentified signal. Origin Zarnathi technology. Coordinates 0.3 light minutes from current position. Elias narrowed his eyes. Zarnathi? They hadn't been seen in this sector for years. Most had pulled back after the ceasefire. But this signal, it was active. Someone or something was still alive. Great, Elias muttered. Last thing I need is alien trouble. He sat back, torn. The right thing to do was to report it. He wasn't military, but the Alliance had rules. If someone picked up an enemy signal, they had to inform command. But there was something else. The signal wasn't strong. In fact, it was fading. If someone was alive out there, they wouldn't be for long. He sighed. All right. Let's go check it out. The Wren changed direction with a soft rumble. 15 minutes later, Elias found the wreck. The Zarnathi ship was a twisted piece of metal floating slowly through space. Its hull was torn open, sparking blue energy leaking out like blood. Panels floated nearby, and a broken wing drifted lazily, spinning in the vacuum. Elias powered down his engines and coasted closer, careful not to trigger any leftover defense systems. He wore a thin pressure suit and grabbed his scanner. Docking was impossible. The ship was too damaged, but there was an opening on the side, just big enough for him to float in. He took a deep breath. Elias, he muttered to himself, you're going to regret this. Then he pushed off into the wreck. Inside, the ship was dark and silent. Only dim green emergency lights blinked from the walls. Burn marks covered the floor. Something had exploded here, probably a power cell. There were no signs of movement, no crew, no life, until he turned a corner. There, lying against the wall, was a figure. It was tall and thin, its glowing green skin pale and flickering like a dying ember. Its breathing was shallow, and strange tubes ran from its chest into a small, broken machine. Its eyes were closed. One arm was bent at a strange angle. Elias froze. A real Zarnathi. He had never seen one this close before. He stepped carefully, unsure what to do. The alien didn't move. A small device blinked weakly near its head. The source of the distress signal. Elias lifted his scanner and ran a quick check. Life signs, weak, almost gone. He stared at the alien for a long moment. It was easy to walk away. The safe thing to do. This was an enemy, after all. A Zarnathi. They had fought humans for decades. People had died on both sides. But something didn't feel right. The wreck didn't look like a military ship. It was too small. Maybe a science vessel. And this one, it wasn't wearing armor. No weapons. Just a damaged breathing unit and a torn uniform. Elias looked around. No others. No rescue pods. No signs of anyone coming back. Left for dead, he whispered. They just left you. The alien twitched. Elias flinched back, raising his scanner like a weapon. But the alien didn't move again. It was barely alive. It hadn't even opened its eyes. He had to decide now. Go back. Call it in. Or bring the alien aboard. He stared at it. At the flickering lights on its chest. The shallow rise and fall of its breathing. Ah, blast it, he said. and knelt down. He gently lifted the alien, surprised by how light it was. He floated back through the wreckage, moving slowly, careful not to bump into sharp metal edges. Back aboard the Wren, Elias laid the alien in the medbay. He adjusted the atmosphere settings, less oxygen, more nitrogen, lower temperature. He didn't know exactly what the alien needed, but his ship's computer made guesses based on the scan. He connected the alien's breathing unit to a power line, patched its wounds with medfoam, and set the vitals monitor. "Come on, don't die now," he muttered. The screen blinked. Life signs stabilizing. Elias slumped into the chair next to the bed. What had he just done? He, a human, had saved a Zarnathi. Not only that, he had broken the law. The peace treaty was fragile. Any act of aid to the enemy could be seen as betrayal, and yet he had done it, because something deep inside told him that it was right. The alien stirred. Its glowing eyes opened slowly, blinking at the strange lights. It looked around the small room, confused and weak. Then its eyes fell on Elias. It stared at him for a long time, unsure. Then it spoke, soft and hoarse in a language Elias didn't understand. Elias smiled a little. "You're safe. At least for now." The alien blinked again. Then, very slowly, it nodded. The hum of the ship's engines was soft and steady. Inside the small medbay of the Wren, Elias sat next to the strange alien he had just rescued. He watched as the creature's glowing green skin slowly brightened, a sign that its condition was improving. The alien, Zarnathi as they were called, still looked weak but alive. That was more than Elias had expected when he found the wreck floating in Sector Theta 9. It had been 2 hours since he brought it aboard. Now, the alien sat, upright on the medbed, connected to the breathing unit Elias had repaired. It blinked slowly, looking around with wide, curious eyes. Its chest rose and fell with careful breaths, as if it wasn't sure if the air could be trusted. Elias stayed quiet at first, letting the alien adjust. But eventually, he spoke. "You understand me?" he asked gently. The alien tilted its head. Then, it spoke in a soft, clicking voice. "Lang. Gua. Not known." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Well, you're trying, at least." The alien tried again, slowly this time. "You human?" Elias nodded. "Yeah, name's Elias. Elias Trent." The alien stared for a moment, then said, "Fael. Rien." It sounded tired just saying that. Elias repeated it. "Fael. Rien. That your name?" The alien nodded once, then winced slightly. Its side still hurt. Elias noticed and grabbed a pain patch from the medkit. He moved slowly, not wanting to startle the alien. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. Valrine watched him closely but allowed Elias to place the patch on its side. A few seconds later it relaxed a little. "Why, help me?" Valrine asked, voice still rough and broken. Elias looked at him. "That was the question, wasn't it?" He shrugged. "You were going to die out there. I couldn't just leave you." "But human, I am Zarnathi, enemy." Elias gave a short laugh. "Maybe, but you weren't shooting at me. You were barely breathing." Valrine blinked slowly. "My ship, not warship, science, vessel." "I thought so," Elias said. "It didn't look like a fighter." The alien nodded weakly. "We study stardust and light, not war." Elias leaned back in the chair, arms crossed. "Then why were you left for dead?" Valrine looked down, his glow dimming for a moment. "They did not agree. I said wrong things. Peace. Ideas. Dangerous." Elias raised an eyebrow. "So they abandoned you?" A slow nod. Silence filled the room for a while. Elias shook his head. "That's cold, even for a war." Valrine looked up. "You do not fear me?" "I probably should," Elias replied with a small smile. "But honestly, you don't look like much of a threat right now." Valrine gave a slow blink. That might have been a sign of amusement. Later that evening, Elias brought Valrine some nutrient paste. He wasn't sure what the alien ate, but the scanner had helped him adjust the formula to match Zarnathi needs. Valrine tasted it carefully, then gave a small nod of approval. Taste strange, but good. Elias smiled. That's probably the nicest thing anyone said about my cooking. While Valrine ate, Elias checked the ship's systems. He noticed something troubling. The distress signal had been intercepted. A message blinked on his monitor. Alliance notice, unauthorized contact detected, report immediately. He sighed. They know. Valrine looked at him. Problem? Big one, Elias said. The Human Alliance picked up your signal. They know I didn't report it. They'll come looking. Valrine's eyes dimmed. You will turn me in? Elias didn't answer right away. He looked at the small, quiet alien sitting in his medbay. Not a soldier, not a killer, just someone who believed in peace and had paid for it. No, he said at last. I won't. Valrine looked surprised. You would risk for me? I already have, Elias replied. Might as well see it through. Valrine looked down. Why? Elias walked over to the window, staring out at the stars. Because maybe you're right. Maybe this war has gone on too long. If people like you exist on your side, maybe we're not so different. Valrine slowly stood up, still shaky but stronger. I never met a human. I thought all were cruel, violent. Elias turned to him. Yeah. People think the same about your kind. They stood there facing each other in silence for a few seconds. Then Valrine said softly, Maybe it is time both sides learn truth. Elias nodded. Maybe. The next morning, Elias made a decision. He plotted a new course, away from the usual shipping lanes. He didn't want to lead the Alliance patrols straight to them. As the ship moved, quietly through empty space, he and Valrine spent more time talking. Elias taught him some English words and in return learned a few Zarnathi phrases. Valrine explained more about his people, their love of science, beauty, and harmony. He showed Elias a small device that projected soft lights and sounds, Zarnathi art based on star vibrations. Elias was fascinated. Your people made this during a war? He asked. Valrine nodded. Some of us believe, even in war, we must remember peace. Elias shook his head in wonder. That's actually beautiful. Something had changed between them. They were no longer rescuer and rescued. They were something else. Companions. Maybe even friends. But peace didn't. As long. A loud beep filled the cockpit. Incoming vessel detected. ID. Human Alliance Patrol. Elias cursed under his breath. They found us. Valrine looked calm but sad. I will go. You will be safe. No way, Elias said firmly. I'm not handing you over. You will be marked a traitor. Maybe, Elias replied. But I'm already past that line, aren't I? He thought for a moment. There was one option. Dangerous, but possible. He activated the ship's stealth module, a feature he had never used. It could block most scans, but only for a short time. Long enough to hide in a nearby asteroid field. As the patrol ship passed nearby, the Wren drifted. Quietly among the space rocks, they waited. Breath held. And then, the signal passed. The patrol moved on. Elias exhaled. Valrine looked at him with deep gratitude. You saved me. Again. Elias gave a small smile. That makes us even. Valrine stood tall, stronger now. Then let us keep going. I have something to show you. A place. A secret my people kept hidden. It can help stop this war. Elias blinked. A secret? Valrine nodded. Something powerful. Something peaceful. Elias looked at him and then he nodded too. All right, Valrine, let's see what your people have been hiding. The stars outside the Wren moved slowly as the ship drifted past a cold red planet. Inside the cockpit, Elias Trent checked the navigation screen. They had been flying for 2 days now, staying away from patrol paths and war zones. His passenger, Violorine, sat beside him, watching the stars in silence. Elias had learned a lot in the past few days. About Zarnathi, about Violorine, and even about himself. Violorine was no longer weak. His skin glowed brighter now, his breathing normal and his voice stronger. He still needed the support system in the medbay, but for short periods, he could walk freely around the ship. His movements were calm and graceful, like someone used to peace, not war. Elias looked at him. So where exactly are we going? Violorine touched the screen gently, zooming in on a part of the map Elias hadn't used before. There, he said. A planet hidden in clouds. We call it Sci-Fi 7. It was once a research world. Now, forgotten. Elias raised an eyebrow. And what's there? Violorine looked at him. Something important, something powerful. A device created to change minds, not destroy them. Elias leaned forward. What do you mean? Violorine took a breath. It's called the harmonic core. It uses light and sound frequencies. It can reach the emotional center of the brain. When it's active, people feel what others feel. Pain, joy, fear, peace. Elias stared. You're saying it could end the war? If used correctly, Violorine nodded. Yes, it could. But why hide it? Violorine's eyes dimmed. Because leaders feared it. They said understanding the enemy would make soldiers weak. Elias shook his head. They feared peace? Yes, Violorine said quietly. Because war gives them power. The journey to Sci-Fi 7 took another day. The planet was surrounded by thick golden clouds, making it hard to scan or land. Elias had to rely on Violorine's memory and old maps. As they descended, lightning flashed in the skies. The ship shook but held steady. Below the clouds, the world was silent and strange. Giant silver trees reached toward the sky, and glowing rivers ran between hills like veins of light. They landed on a flat stone platform near a collapsed tower. This was once a great place, Violorine said, stepping out of the ship. Scientists from across my world came here to work on peaceful projects. Then the war came, and they abandoned it. Elias looked around. The air was cool and smelled like dust and rain. The silence was deep, almost too deep. They walked toward a large dome-shaped building half covered in moss and vines. The door was sealed, but Violorine touched a small panel with glowing symbols. The door opened slowly, creaking as light spilled out. Inside, the air was dry. Machines long asleep hummed softly, as if waking from a dream. In the center of the room was a floating orb surrounded by rings of light and crystal shapes. The harmonic core, Violorine whispered. Elias stepped closer. Elias. The device gave off a warm, pulsing sound. Not music exactly, but something gentle like a heartbeat or the wind. How does it work? Elias asked. Violorine placed his hand on a nearby console. With permission from both sides, it connects minds through shared emotion. Both sides? Elias repeated. You mean? Before he could finish, the room lit up red. An alarm. A scanner. Unauthorized life form detected. Human. Elias stepped back. That's not good. Violorine quickly tapped a sequence of symbols. The core is protected. It does not allow one side to control it. Elias looked at the floating orb. So I need to connect with it too? Violorine nodded. Yes. If we both do it, it may activate. Elias stepped forward, placing his hand beside Violorine's. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the core glowed brighter. Lights circled them. Soft sounds filled the room. A gentle vibration moved through Elias's body like warm waves, and suddenly, he felt it, a memory. But not his. He was flying through strange skies, laughing with others. He saw a bright blue ocean. He heard a song. He felt the wonder of discovery. Violorine's memory. At the same time, Violorine gasped. I see. Your world. A city of glass. A small girl running through a park. The smell of baked bread. The sound of music boxes. Elias stepped back, stunned. You saw that? Violarine nodded, eyes wide. It shared our memories, our emotions, not with words, but feeling. Elias looked at the core. This thing, it could make anyone feel what the other side feels? Yes, Violarine said. It is the key. Before they could speak more, the console beeped again. Ship detected. Incoming. Zarnathi class. Elias turned. Your people? Violarine's face grew serious. They must have tracked us. A few minutes later, outside the building, a sleek black ship landed. 4 tall Zarnathi soldiers stepped out wearing dark armor. One of them walked forward. His glow was sharp and cold. Violarine, he said. You are ordered to return. You have broken protocol. You share knowledge with a human. Violarine stood tall. I share truth. This human saved my life. He is the enemy, the soldier snapped. Elias stepped beside Violarine. You left him to die. I didn't. The soldier raised his hand. Stand down. Violarine did not move. You fear peace, but I do not. The soldier turned to his team. Destroy the core. Elias moved quickly. Wait, you don't understand what this can do. We understand, the soldier said. That's why we must destroy it. But before he could give the order, the core activated again. A pulse of light flashed. The Zarnathi soldiers froze. Their eyes widened. The core had reached them too. One soldier dropped his weapon. I see a memory. A boy. Hiding during an attack. Afraid. Crying. But it wasn't me. It was, a human. Another whispered, I felt their sorrow. Their joy. Their fear. Like it was my own. Violarine looked at Elias. The core is working. Elias turned to the leader. You felt it too, didn't you? The leader said nothing for a long time. Finally, he lowered his hand. The council will not approve. Then show them, Violarine said. Let the people decide. The soldiers looked at each other. One nodded slowly. We will not stop you. But this changes everything. They turned and left. That night, Elias and Violarine stood under the stars. You think it will be enough? Elias asked. Violarine looked up. It's a beginning, a new kind of weapon, one that heals, not hurts. Elias smiled. Strange, all these years of fighting. And maybe the answer was just understanding. Violarine nodded. Yes, and you did the unthinkable. You helped the one you were taught to hate. Elias looked at him. You're not my enemy anymore. Violarine smiled. Nor you mine. The silver dawn of Sephar 7 filtered through broken skylights as the Wren's ramp lowered. Elias, Trent, and Violarine stood at the edge of the platform, the faint hum of the harmonic core pulsing behind them. The Zarnathi soldiers who had come the night before were now airborne again, their small craft vanishing into the golden clouds. They carried no prisoners, no weapons, only a single message. We must tell the people what we felt. For the first quiet moment in days, Elias and Violarine were alone. The forest of silver bark trees rustled like distant rain, and the Hau, rivers of light wound peacefully between hills. Yet tension hung over the pair. The war was still real out there, and both governments would soon learn that an outlaw human and a renegade Zarnathi had awakened a forgotten device. A plan Azor, fragile as starlight, inside the dome laboratory. Flickering monitors showed the core's expanding range. Its soft rings of sound already reached low orbit, imprinting gentle echoes of empathy across every mind that drifted past. But Sephar 7 was far from any major trade route. The core would need an amplifier, an ancient subspace tower hidden on Orcs Prime, a moon once shared by both species before the war. Violarine traced a glowing map with slender fingers. Orcs Prime still houses the crystalline array. If we connect the core to it, the effect will travel across thousands of systems in one single pulse. Elias whistled. A galactic broadcast of walk in each other's shoes. Nice idea, but Horus Prime is locked down by your High Council and Alliance guards. That moon is the last neutral zone. Anyone caught trespassing gets detained. Valreen looked at him, emerald eyes calm yet firm. Then we must not be caught. Elias chuckled, rubbing his neck. Right. Simple. But he started loading. Supplies anyway. Starlight under a false flag 2 days later, the Wren slid from hyperspace near Horus Prime, its hull disguised by a stolen transponder code the Zarnathi soldiers had sent ahead. From space, the moon shone pearl white, ringed by defense satellites that watched every arrival. Elias kept his voice low. Transponder says we're a clerkship delivering food rations. Might fool the computers, but the docking crew will notice I'm not Zarnathi. I will speak, Valrian replied, already wearing an old diplomatic robe he found in storage. Its pale fabric shimmered as though woven from moonlight. They docked at Port Trinity, a cavernous bay built for trade talks that never came. Alliance Marines and Zarnathi wardens patrolled side by side, uneasy partners tasked with keeping the ceasefire from fracturing. Valrian led the way, carrying a sealed crate. Inside, the harmonic core rested, its rings folded like petals of a sleeping flower. Elias followed, head down, wearing a mechanic's coat and pushing a tool cart to hide his human face. The pair almost made it through the first checkpoint, until a human officer stepped forward, scanning IDs. Hold. Mask off, please. Elias felt his heart thump. He pulled off the cap slowly. The officer's brow furrowed. You're human, but your manifest shows a Zarnathi crew. The officer's hand rested near a holstered stunner. State your purpose. Valreen spoke. Quickly, voice calm yet earnest. This man is a neutral contractor, assisting with delicate devices requested by the Council. Any delay will jeopardize vital research. The officer glanced at the sealed crate. Research? What kind? Medical resonance, Valreen said, which was not quite a lie. Ask our superiors. The officer hesitated. Then another call crackled over his earpiece about a supply leak in Bay 6. He waved them through, distracted. Elias let out a quiet breath. That was close. Valrian's glow brightened in relief. We must hurry before luck changes. The warlord of the empty halls. The crystalline array lay beneath the ancient Hall of Accord, a vast chamber built when humans and Zarnathi shared scientists' dreams and songs. Now it sat unused, echoing like a tomb. They reached a lift. Valreen placed his palm on the reader. The doors opened with a sigh. Down they went, 10 levels, until crystal pylons glimmered in the dark, like frozen lightning. But they were not alone. A deep voice echoed. I wondered who would try to wake the old heart. Out of the shadows stepped Commander Luthen Rest, a Zarnathi war leader famous for perfect discipline. His armor gleamed obsidian. The red bars on his chest plate marked victories Elias had only read about in grim news feeds. Soldiers flanked him, human and Zarnathi both. Their eyes were hard, their weapons ready, not to fire, but certainly to threaten. Valreen moved in front of Elias. Commander Rest, the core belongs to all. Let us share it. Rest's glow pulsed cold blue. The Council sent me to shut this program forever. Empathy is weakness. Share pain and soldiers will hesitate, Elias spoke up. Or maybe they'll think before starting another war. Rest studied the human. You are the traitor pilot. The Alliance wants you contained. His tone held neither anger nor hatred, only a chilling certainty that orders must be followed. He raised a small control rod. Crystals around the chamber dimmed. Give me the device. You will both be transported back for inquiry. No harm will come if you comply. Valreen shook his head. Commander, I feel your fear. You dread losing purpose if the war ends. Let the core show you there is more. Rest's grip tightened. Purpose is forged in duty, not dreams. Eliasi whispered to Valreen. If we can connect the core to one pylon, even a short burst might change his mind. Valreen nodded. Then we must reach it. Occurred the silent battle. No shots were fired, no blades drawn. Yet a fierce struggle began, a race of wills and footsteps. Elias darted left, pushing the tool cart. 2 guards moved to block him. Vial stepped between, palms raised in a non-threat gesture, singing a short sequence of harmonic tones. The guards hesitated, the melody stirring faint, pleasant memories they could not name. In that heartbeat of pause, Elias rolled the crate beside the nearest crystal spire. The lid slid open. Rings of the harmonic core unfolded like flower petals, greeting daylight. Soft white radiance spilled out, bathing the hall. Commander Rest shouted an order. A human officer lunged, attempting to close the petals. Elias placed his hand on the outer ring. "Vial, now!" Vial pressed both hands against the crystal spire. Light threaded from the core into the pylon. A chime rose, pure and steady, a note of shared heartbeat. For a moment, everyone froze. Elias felt a rush of emotions not his own. Glimpses of childhood training yards under violet skies. Rest's first pride badge. The cold discipline hammered into him each dawn. Fierce loyalty, then suppressed guilt over lost friends. Across the room, Rest staggered, eyes wide. What is this?" Vial spoke softly. "Your memories, Commander. And ours. Can you feel our fear? Our hope?" Rest's voice cracked. "I see. A human mother. Weeping as her son leaves for war. I smell bread in a small kitchen." His shoulders trembled. The guards lowered their weapons, stunned by their own swirl of borrowed feelings. Laughing, crying, holding hands with those they once called foes. A choice at the threshold, the core's glow began to fade. The quick connection drained its portable batteries. Elias steadied Valerian, who seemed lightheaded but peaceful. Around them, silence fell. No orders, no conflict, only shared breathing. Commander Rest stepped forward, armor whispering. He removed his helmet and placed it on the floor, an act equal to lowering a banner. His gaze met Elias's. "I feel your courage, human. Not rage, not greed, only the stubborn wish to spare one life." He turned to Valerian. "And I feel your dream of harmony." Rest looked at the crystals overhead, now faintly glowing with after-images of empathy. "Perhaps I was afraid to lose the only path I understood." Valerian offered his hand, palm up. "Walk a new path with us." Rest hesitated, then placed his own hand above Valerian's, fingertips barely touching. A soft ring of light circled them. Elias exhaled, tension sliding from his shoulders. The soldiers around the hall stood quietly, as if awakening from a long fog, but the moment could not last. Distant alarms began to echo, external sensors marking another arrival. Alliance cruisers and Zarnathi dreadnoughts, both responding to unauthorized energy spikes. A larger force would soon surround Orcs Prime, fearing a superweapon. Rest turned. "They will come with heavy doubts. We must greet them with proof, not words." Elias pointed at the dimming core. "We need a full broadcast, enough power, for every ship in orbit." Rest considered, then summoned the hall's old maintenance schematics onto a holo. "There is a planetary fusion grid still buried below. If we connect the core to that, its reach will multiply 1,000-fold. Elias grinned. "Sounds like we've got work to do." Valerian's glow shimmered with quiet joy. "Then, let us finish what we began on a lonely wreck in Theta 9. The dawn before the leap, they moved quickly, Elias rewiring conduits with practiced hands, Rest commanding both human and Zarnathi soldiers, who, moments ago, would never have stood, side by side. Valerian calibrated the core, aligning its rings to resonate with the moon's crystal lattice. Hours passed. Outside, the first warships entered low orbit, but none fired. Perhaps the faint echo of empathy already brushed their minds. Perhaps they waited, uncertain. Finally, the last cable snapped into place. The harmonic core floated high above the array, its rings spinning in serene cadence. Valerian placed a palm upon the activation glyph. Rest rested his hand over Valerian's. Elias, standing opposite, laid his hand beside theirs. 3. Beings, once enemies, now formed the triangle of intent the core required. Light bloomed, not blinding but warm, like sunrise through thin curtains. The pale light of Horus Prime's twin suns washed over the Hall of Accord. Inside, the harmonic core floated quietly, its rings turning like slow moons. Its great pulse had on a fragile calm. Elias Trent stood near a cracked window and watched two huge war cruisers drifting in silent orbit. Yesterday those ships would have fired at each other on sight. Today they simply hovered, engines humming, guns idle. Valerian stepped beside him, wrapped in a silver cloak. His green glow was soft but steady. "They are waiting," he said. Elias nodded. Waiting is better than firing. Behind them, former enemies, Alliance officers and Zarnathi elites, gathered around small tables, sharing water, fruit, and cautious words. Commander Rest moved from group to group, no longer a warlord but a guide. Each time someone raised an old fear, the core sent a tiny echo of shared feeling, enough to remind them why anger now felt wrong. Yet peace was not guaranteed. Ships far from Horus Prime had not felt the full wave. Generals on distant worlds still trusted only weapons. For true change, messages had to reach every fleet, every capital, every home. Elias rubbed his chin. "We need a plan." Voices across the void. The hall's ancient broadcast desk still worked. Its long, curved console could transmit words and images to thousands of worlds at once. Elias had repaired its power lines while Valerian calibrated the core. Now it glowed, ready. Rest joined them. "Transmit together," he said. "Human, Zarnathi, and soldier. 3 voices, 1 promise." Elias looked at the microphone plate, smooth metal cold under his fingertips. "I'm a cargo pilot, not a leader." Valerian placed a gentle hand on his arm. "You already led, Elias. You led when you chose mercy." Rest gave a rare smile. "Speak from that mercy. It is enough." They linked the harmonic core to the desk so that every word would carry a faint harmonic trace, barely a whisper, but enough to let distant listeners feel the speaker's meaning. The red light blinked. "The galaxy was listening," Valerian began, voice calm and musical. "People of the stars, we greet you as children of the same sky. We have shared pain for so long that we forgot how alike our hearts beat." Elias spoke next, steady but humble. "I am Elias Trent, a simple human pilot. I saved one life and found a friend. That choice showed me our war is built on fear, not truth. We can choose again. Today." Rest's deep voice followed, carrying weight of command. "I am Commander Rest. I once believed duty meant destroying the other side. The core opened my eyes. I now choose a greater duty, protecting every innocent life, Zarnathi or human. Together," they said, "let us build peace before our children inherit our mistakes." Across light years, countless screens lit up with their faces. On mining stations, soldiers removed helmets. In crowded cities, families pointed at the strange trio speaking as one. Some listeners cried without knowing why. Others simply felt warm hope stirring for the first time in years. The shadow of doubt not. Everyone welcomed the message. Far in the asteroid capital of Iron's Reach, Admiral Kragan, an Alliance hardliner, slammed a fist onto a table. "Emotions over strategy," she growled. "Dangerous nonsense." She ordered her flagship, Vigilance, to break orbit and head to Horus Prime. On the Zarnathi side, strategist Keth Zor prepared a similar strike, fearing the core would soften the warrior spirit. News of the coming fleets reached the hall within hours. Valerian read the report, glow dimming. "They come with old anger, Elias." Elias folded the paper. "Then we meet them with new strength. Strength of unity." Alliance of the few repairs on the Wren finished. just as the first hostile signals echoed through space. Elias, Valerian, and Rest climbed the ramp together. The small freighter looked even smaller next to towering warships, but its cargo was priceless. The harmonic core, now mounted in the hold and linked to portable power cells. Elias powered up engines. We'll fly straight between the two incoming fleets and boost the core again, make them feel what we felt. Rest strapped into the co-pilot seat. A needle of light through a wall of stone. I like it. Outside, volunteer escorts, tiny, shuttles and scout ships flown by mixed crews, formed a fragile shield around the Wren. They had no heavy weapons, only faith that understanding could be stronger than fire. Run through the storm space turned dark as the first missiles streaked past. Kragan's vigilance loomed ahead, flanked by gunships. To the rear, Kethzor's dreadnoughts glimmered like jagged ice. Between them, a narrow channel of black nothing. Elias whispered, "Hold steady." He pressed the throttle. The freighter shook. Kragan's voice blared on open comms. "Unknown vessel, reverse course or be disabled." Elias opened the channel. "Admiral, this is Captain Trent. We carry no weapons, only a message." "A message does not stop plasma," Kragan answered. "Last warning." Ahead, flashes of light. Warning shots painted the hull. Valerian activated the core. Its rings brightened. A low hum spread through the cabin like gentle thunder. Inside Vigilance, crew members groaned as sudden memories washed over them. Zarnathi children running through glowing fields, human lullabies sung under warm lamps. Kragan gripped a rail. "What sorcery?" Elias pushed closer. "Feel it, Admiral. These are lives you swore to defend, not destroy." On the other flank, Kethzor's bridge felt the same wave. Images of human miners sharing stories, Alliance medics patching Zarnathi refugees. The strategist's cold logic wavered, but old habits die hard. Kragan set targeting locks. One more second and the freighter would be dust. Rest unbuckled, walked to the viewport, and stared down the giant battleship. He spoke on the open channel, voice low but clear. "Admiral Kragan, I once thirsted for conquest as you do now. The core showed me my enemy's tears. They tasted like my own." Silence. Then Rest added, "Fire if you must, but know you are firing at yourself also." Kragan's finger paused above the command key. Her heart pounded. In the swirl of borrowed memories, she suddenly saw a young pilot, Elias, pulling a broken alien from wreckage. She felt his fear, his hope. The comm room waited. Finally, she whispered, "Stand down." The guns powered off. Across the void, Kethzor echoed the order. A corridor of stillness opened around the Wren. The second, Great Pulse Elias guided the ship to the exact midpoint between fleets. Valerian increased power. Rest rerouted emergency cells. The core brightened to sunrise gold, rings spinning faster. When the pulse came, it was soundless, yet mighty. Invisible ripples spread through hulls, through armor, through hearts. On every deck, humans and Zarnathi dropped weapons, overwhelmed by a flood of unfamiliar kindness. Officers heard children laugh. Engineers felt enemy nurses binding their wounds. Captains saw celebrations that might be, if only they chose them. Not one shot was fired. Seeds and new soil hours later, war councils on both flags convened, mixed for the first time. Kragan, pale but calm, shook hands with Rest aboard Vigilance's Grand Hall. Kethzor drafted the first treaty addendum, calling for shared patrols and cultural exchanges. The harmonic core remained on the Wren for now, ready to travel system to system, sowing empathy. Back on Orcs Prime, workers cleared rubble around the Hall of Accord. Together, human builders and Zarnathi artisans raised a small statue on the front step, a freighter pilot reaching out to lift a fallen alien. Beneath it, a simple line read, "Peace begins with one brave choice." Farewell to the Wren weeks passed. Elias finally stood alone in the Wren's cargo bay, hand resting on the console that had once seemed his whole world. Now the galaxy felt wider, kinder. Valerian entered. "I have news," the alien said with a gentle smile. "The new council wants ambassadors. They ask if we will serve, Together, Elias laughed softly. Ambassadors? I still spill coffee on flight logs. Perfect qualification, Valerian teased. You are honest. Elias looked around the small ship, bunk, crates, scratched floors, and felt a tug of sadness, letting go. Yet beyond the open ramp, children of both races chased each other in sunlit grass. He nodded. All right, partner, let's represent the dream. They powered down the Wren, sealing her like a time capsule of daring beginnings, then walked toward the council hall. Side by side, no guard between them, only trust. Echoes into tomorrow. Years later, people would study hollows of that first great meeting on Orcs Prime. They would point to the moment a freighter emerged between fleets and changed history without a single shot. Tour guides would end stories at the foot of the statue where fresh flowers always lay. Children, Human and Zarnathi, would run small, fingers over the engraved words and ask, did it really start with just one rescue? Their teachers would smile. Yes, they would say, because one rescue led to one friendship, and that friendship showed two mighty nations that feeling another's heart is the strongest power in the universe. And far beyond the tourist paths, the harmonic core would keep traveling, cradled, now in a sleek diplomatic cruiser. Each time it pulsed, war plans softened. Old grudges thinned, new songs rose, songs filled with two languages weaving into one. Elias Trent, Valerian, and Commander Rest became icons, yet they never claimed grand titles. They simply kept choosing mercy again and again, proving that peace is not an end but a constant decision. The final words on A Quiet Evening many cycles later, Elias watched twin suns set over a rebuilt Orcs Prime garden. Valerian joined him, handing a cup of fragrant tea. Elias breathed in the sweet steam. Do you ever miss the days of adventure? Valerian's green eyes reflected soft light. Every day, but I love the days of building more. Elias,